when we produce a system that, when we make a variant that's aimed at a certain group, we want it to, number one, work incredibly well, but it's got to fit their workflow and it should be transparent to them. Hi there, welcome to our latest episode of What's Spinning. Proud to be into season 3. And I'm really excited about this episode. And I'm Doug Milburn, co-founder, president. I got Brett Kelly here.
That's me.
And we have a special guest named Chris Walldorf, who you're going to hear all about shortly in the world of video and music. And we're going to get to hear about some of the incredibly exciting stuff he does and to understand his perspective. And we're also going to find out from Chris about his experience with a new piece of technology. So, and here's what's happened is Chris has been kind enough to beta a new product that we were developing, codenamed DV15. Tell you really quickly, for those of us who know our 45Drives product line, we have a model called the AV15, which has been out for a number of years, high-powered, checks all the enterprise boxes with the most robust enterprise components. We also, when our home labs fans, understand that we have our HL15, which has been incredibly successful, and it's people at home labs who want to do some exciting stuff and create very large storage spaces and do really cool stuff like ZFS and like super fast storage access. That's for them. But without some of the enterprise stuff that makes it really expensive, yet you can still go really fast on it. It's a really cool place. Yeah, it's like, you like big, strong, fast, but you don't want a 18-wheeler parked in your driveway because your wife get mad at you.
Yeah.
So, and we got this area in the middle, video. We do a lot of business in the video world. And we have some people, we just pop a few out, Moonshine Post, who are in Atlanta.
I believe
Georgia,
they're in Atlanta.
Southeast.
Yep.
Yep.
They might be expanded outside of, but I know they're in Atlanta for sure.
Yeah, and a very cool post-production house, Photochem, we do some interesting business with. And Brett, one that's dear to your hometown, your heritage.
Yeah, even some of our first customers in the industry up here in Nova Scotia, the DigiBoys, who edit, shoot, film the Trailer Park Boys.
Which I think is a wonderful, slightly exotic...
That's a very polite way to describe them. I don't think they got that.
And anybody who's Trailer Park Boys, Brett's hometown, not Sunnydale itself.
No, they won't let me in there, unfortunately.
In Sunnydale. So anyway, we do that, and Chris is representative of. There's so many independents.
Yes.
In that industry, and Chris, just really, really cool background. So we've asked him to beta this new product, which is a hybrid of the HomeLab 15 and our AV15, really, really targeted at that. What's, Chris and, the whole idea of it, and Chris is really helping us develop this, is it's the focus and workflow. Our technology, big, strong, fast, should make your life better, and you shouldn't even know you're using it. So we're going to get to hear about how that works. So, awesome. Welcome to our What's Spinning podcast, Chris.
Cool. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, so Doug gave a great rundown for where we're going to go with this one, but we do love to start every one of the episodes because the best part of these things is getting to talk to the people who use the technology that is provided in the world. The whole world runs on it, but we just use it to make all the wonderful pieces of art and magic, and whether you're a researcher all the way to the good stuff and filming and music and everything. So with all that said, we like to hear from you guys, where you came from, what got you started. So we'll start off with a quick question. Where are you located? Which corner of the earth you in, and what got you into the game?
Yeah, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. I went to North Carolina School of the Arts. So I was in kind of a class of guys, and there was about 4 or 5 of us that moved to Charlotte. We kind of specifically wanted to avoid New York and LA and kind of all the big markets, and kind of the idea is, a lot of guys would move to those bigger markets and they start super low down the ladder and kind of climb their way up. And our kind of attitude with our friends was like, let's move to smaller markets and just start making stuff. I didn't, it's not necessarily, I've always kind of had an independent, rebellious streak, and it just was not, I'm just like, that's not going to be my temperament of like, kissing ass and trying to move up that way. It's just like, I would rather just like be in charge, so it's like we graduated from school and just started making stuff and making commercials. And I think the first commercial we made was $5,000 for a lawyer,
nice.
Local lawyer in town. And then
I can picture it now. Yeah. Has this ever happened to you?
Exactly. We shot a lawyer in a swimming pool. It was a nightmare shoot. That we rented the equipment. We had an underwater 16 millimeter camera housing. We shot everything. The day before the shoot, the chlorine dispenser in the pool malfunctioned and just dumped all the chlorine in the pool. And they were just like, yeah, you can't get in it. We're just like, we have to get in it. We've already rented the equipment. We've got everything. And it was 2 days, and I'm in and out of the pool, and I had just chemical burns all over my body. It was just a whole nightmare shoot. And it turned out the underwater housing, there was a problem, and the film didn't expose, and so we had to reshoot everything. It was just a nightmare. But anyway, and then we got better from there. So we, and then it kind of came up during the .com boom of the early aughts, and just really it was just it was like commercial for $5,000, and then $20,000, $100,000, $300,000. So we kind of really rode that wave of those, that kind of lawless time back then when there was a lot of money, a lot of stupid money being poured into startups.
That's awesome.
We were able to take advantage of that and kind of build a career.
What was your favorite one you guys made in that era?
We did one for Questia.com that was pretty funny, where we built like I said, it was the Question Marquis. He was this like 16th century French guy that was, he wasn't actually French, just a terrible French accent. And,
nice.
Built this like completely ornate, looked like, it was just ridiculous. And there was, I don't know.
That's fun, because especially like you said, you guys, how much of the creative did you guys have to do? Did they just show up and say, here, figure out something for us, or were they coming with a video?
That one was a little bit more, that was definitely a little bit of a disillusion in terms of the commercial market. Not really, I'm just like looking at television commercials, just like, I mean, come on, I can do better than that.
Yeah.
But then you kind of realize the bureaucracy involved in the whole thing. And, by the time you get a script, it's been through the ringer with the clients, and they've already pitched 15 ideas, and you're getting the one that they picked, and then there's like, what if we do this and change this? And there's like, yeah, shut up. So
the commercial
we've already got this done.
Yeah. So the commercial world, you've moved up and beyond, well beyond that. Tell us next steps. And
then it was commercials, and then I bet it was probably 4 years ago. And it's funny, like people ask me about film school and whether they should go to film school, and you can obviously learn everything on YouTube and watching videos and all that stuff, but it's so much about the connections you make, and all your friends. You go to school, you have a core group of friends, and then everybody disperses out and goes into the workplace, and people hit it, and they can take you with them and recommend you for a job. So that, it was probably 15, 20 years later after I've been out of school, a buddy of mine was working with the director shooting something, and I did a sizzle for him for a documentary, and he really liked it. And then like probably 3 weeks later, he called me and was just like, can you be in LA in 3 weeks? Starting a Netflix series. Would love to have you be the editor, or the lead editor on it. There's 2 other editors as well. So yeah, moved to LA for 6 months and worked on that, and it's called The Night Stalker.
Oh yeah,
okay. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I've watched that.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, interesting project. Weird. I'm definitely not a obsessed with serial killers guy. Not one of those guys. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah, too bad the whole world is though. There's tons of content
right.
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started, I've done that, and then I did another Netflix series after that called Sins of Our Mother that was about Laurie Vallow. Just terrible story. I don't even want to go into. I don't even want to say it. But it's kind of a big, famous story. And basically, it was a cult, kind of a cult thing. Mm-hmm. But that it starting to get pigeonholed in that. So I've kind of been trying to back away from that as much as possible, not become the, just it's a lot to put in your head all the time.
So
you commit to a project for 8 months.
So where are you now? What kind of stuff are you doing? You're moving more into your world you like to be in?
Yeah, so more music. So the project, we're actually exporting it right now for a cut for Sundance. Another friend of mine that went to film school in my class approached me about it, and they're making an independent documentary on the Horde Festival, which is it was Fish, Blues Traveler, Widespread Panic, the Spin Doctors, and another band called the Colonel Bruce Hampton and the Aquarium Rescue Unit. And this is in '92, and all those bands are pretty much, they're probably playing for like 1,000-seat, 2,000-seat places, and they decided to pool the resources and put on a 8-day traveling festival.
Yeah.
And so they did that in '92. Yeah, it's good, and that's kind of what it is. It's the new generation of the Grateful Dead.
Gotcha.
And so we followed that whole thing, and it ended up being a huge festival. It went on for 6 years, but Lenny Kravitz and Neil Young and Allman Brothers, Wilco and Primus, nice. Smashing Pumpkins, Beck, they all played it. So it's kind of giving credit for launching the whole jam band scene post Grateful Dead. Cool. That's a big point in the documentary. When Jerry Garcia dies, you have all these deadheads that had nowhere to go, and they're like, look over there. It's just like, oh wait, here's the Horde Festival, and and they said like literally they sold like I think it was 10,000 tickets. People showed up that day just for their next one after Jerry Garcia died.
No way.
They just completely sold out. 10,000 walk-ups.
It's just the traveling dead needed a Horde to join. That's a cool little crossroads though, because we talked so much about your on the filming, editing side of things, but you're big in the music production as well too, scoring, and you run a studio, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Su? Did I say that right?
Su. Yes. Su Studio.
Is that a play on the
Su Studio?
Su Studio.
Nice.
It's the Phil Collins song. I had a cat named Sue, and a buddy of mine that was naming everything after my cat. It kind of hit me one day. I was like, should I call it Sue Studio or wait, Sue Studio? I've kind of just always been doing that. Anytime I was, throughout film school, just always been playing in bands and gravitated towards the musicians. And we started a band, and we were playing in Charlotte for about 6 or 7 years. Just always been in bands and kind of got obsessed with recording as well, kind of on the side. And those two things have kind of converged. So when I moved to Charlotte, I ended up buying a house on an acre of land, and it has it's now added onto it. I think it's about 1,600 square feet at this point. So I've got a recording studio that's 1,200 square feet, and then a separate editing suite.
Are you out of the commercial world, or are you still working on commercials?
A little bit. I just finished a job for Seiko, which is the watch company. It's for an ad agency out of San Francisco called GDP, and they do the CEO was the owner of that agency was the CEO of Wired Magazine, and so he kind of developed that cool. kind of tech aesthetic style. He's very into that. So I've done 3 things for him at this point: one for IBM, one for Sony, and then this one for Seiko.
Cool.
And it's less of a commercial. It's like a 20 minutes exploration of how the Japanese perceive time.
Nice.
So I think they're gonna submit it to festivals and stuff like that. So it's
that's
kind
cool.
of a commercial, but it's it's a little bit more of an art film.
One other thing we talked about is kind of dear to my heart. I mean, look, you're in North Carolina, and I love what you said about not going to the mainstream and not going to New York City. We're in Eastern Canada, Atlantic Canada, way out on the coast, and North Carolina and Nova Scotia surprisingly have some commonalities, even though we're way east and a fair bit north of you guys. But sailing. So I sail. Actually, we're just opening an office in Wilmington, as you know, and I can't wait to get down there. And actually, I'm sailing my catamaran down there another probably about 2 or 3 more weeks. I'm going to sail down there. So projects about sailing. I think you got one there that's kind of interesting.
Started developing a project, and now it's at Max. It's called Jackpot, and it's about the gentlemen smugglers. And so there was a group. I don't
smuggle, by the way. Order people.
Right. You could.
Just
you
sail.
could. I can show you. I could. They were in the 70s. They were from South Carolina. They were all kind of bumming around Key West, and somebody paid them, I think, $10,000 to sail to Jamaica and come back, fill up their sailboat with as much weed as they could get on it. And they came back and got $10,000, and they're just like, that was easy money. Let's buy another boat. And so they just started buying boats, and they just started sailing, and they ended up, that's probably over the course of about 6 or 7 years, they were the biggest supplier of marijuana on the East Coast, just billions of dollars. And they were just kept buying bigger boats and bigger boats, and they were always coming into South Carolina because it's very marshy kind of land, so it's hard to police.
Yeah, it's easy to kind of disappear into the.
That's Nova Scotia. We're rocky. Right? We have all kinds of that smuggling and strange boats. Actually, in our town last winter, I was over in this little town with a little fishing harbor and this incredibly beautiful racing sailboat, like ocean-going racing sailboat. I'm going to say it was 55 feet or something like that. Huge mast on it, big rig on it. And so a couple of guys got off, carried a few bags off, disappeared. The boat was just left there. You know what that did.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So same stuff because we got all this coast around.
Right. Yeah, you don't need the boat. Like the boat's, it's chump change. That boat.
Yeah.
Right.
So
those guys, they sailed. Funny story. They went to Afghanistan, and there was a civil war going on, and they stopped the civil war for them to come in because they were smuggling hash, and so they had giant sailboat.
Common goal.
Everybody just like, wait, stop shooting. Yeah, like let's see. And they all like loaded the hash on, and they sailed. And apparently they were saying that they just were sleeping on the hash, and the boat was like this far, but like a foot above water, because it was so weighed down with hash, and they're just sleeping on top of it, and they're like, running out of water and stuff, and they can't pull over because.
Are you feeling Trailer Park Boys here too?
I just can't. The amount of references here are crazy. Yeah.
So with that project, what's going on with that as a project? Is it?
It's in development right now. So Renee Zellweger's company actually has it, and so it's just a whole thing. That's part of it's a little frustrating, it's like that's the where it kind of gets out of your hands a little bit. Just like we had a kind of a choice whether we could raise money independently, which we were kind of going down that route, and then this happened. So it's, I don't know, I kept saying this is less of a sure thing because you get into this, it becomes it gets on their roster and they're developing it. Who knows what's happening, and so out of your control. Again, that's why I kind of wish we had just raised the money and shot it. I know how to do that. Just navigating this labyrinth of bureaucracy.
You got to get her done because I can't wait to watch it. That's going to be incredibly interesting.
Thank you.
Last thing, you guys in North Carolina like to have a drink every now and then? Are you involved with those drinks? You
Yeah.
don't do like stills up in the mountains there, do you? Or nothing like that?
Yeah.
Or something
No,
going on with
no,
booze?
no
No.
stills.
No stills.
Yeah, I'm involved in a celebrity tequila that's about to launch. So that is, we went and shot, and our take on it is that everybody's been too reverent in terms of, with like uh, Casa Amiga. Sorry, drew a blank on it for a second.
Yep.
George Clooney's brand,
Yep.
and it's just like George Clooney out there with, sitting around a campfire, cheersing with all the humidors and the farmers, and we're all just like, that's such BS. Like,
Yeah.
that's not what happens.
He's not
like,
there.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, nobody believes that that's actually happening. So we went down to Jalisco and shot some commercials. We've got about 18 commercials that we're going to start coming out over the next. We're announcing it mid-October.
Do you have a name for the tequila yet?
Or is it top secret?
Don Gato.
Nice.
Is the tequila.
Yeah.
Gato.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I get down North Carolina, which we're going down there very shortly, now that our offices are open down there, good. I hope we'll be able to get some of that. So.
Yeah, it's definitely available. It's delicious tequila, additive free, which is not what Casa Amigos cannot claim that. It's very good tequila.
Let's change tacks here. Technology, incredibly interesting work in music and production, post-production. And you've been doing this work with us and our storage infrastructure for post-production and audio. Let's go back. So you moved back, and let's go back to Netflix and go into LA. What kind of infrastructure you work on? I know at that point you go there with two other editors. I'm assuming that they would have had all the IT infrastructure to do your production on. Would that be correct?
Yes. Yeah. It's a huge post-production place. So they're probably show up and there's 40 editors, I would say, working in one building on just various shows. So you've got your own little section of the wing, but there's a whole IT department, gigantic machine room storing all that data. So definitely a different world than what I came from.
What kind of platforms have you worked on over the years? In terms of the whole legacy side of things, like what was the world that you came from?
So I came from at North Carolina School of the Arts, which is where I went to school. We were taught on Avid. Okay. And we were kind of told at that point, that was 1999 or whatever, that we were told like this machine is worth $100,000. One of those things where it's just like you'll never be able to afford this. And then that was one of those things right out of film school. 1999, 2000 is when Final Cut Pro came out. Mm-hmm. And so I got on Final Cut Pro 1.0 on a G3, and it worked great. I was just like, holy crap, this is amazing. I can edit in my bedroom.
Democratization of technology.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. And then so that company just, I don't know what they were thinking, that they had gotten up. I think they had 50% of the market share, and then they went from Final Cut 7 to Final Cut X. Yep. And when they did that, they got rid of all these professional features that you need to really shoot something and be able to pass it off to color and sound and do all that stuff. And they got rid of all those features and added an upload to Facebook button. It's just like they really and they made it. It was not compatible with older versions, so all your old projects you couldn't even open anymore. So I don't know what they were thinking. To me, it's just such a huge, just they just boggled it or
Yeah.
bungled it or whatever I don't know what they were thinking.
The
But
word-
so at that point,
the word rug pull, which we see in technology so many times, when some guy, probably has an MBA up a tower or glass tower somewhere, says we're going for different
This
strategy.
Facebook thing's the new best thing. Everyone will make videos for that
Right.
only.
There's a Simpsons episode I talk about all the time. Barney and Barney said, "Family restaurants, that's where it's at." And next, Homer and Barney are sitting out in the on the curb with their glass of beer. And you get a family restaurant, and they just like ditch your old customers.
Yep.
So common in the technology industry, the rug pull.
And it's really tough for people of your film or your industry, because we hear it all the time from our customers who are in the same game, but workflow is key. And then when a tool comes in and kills those, like, here's how I worked. You mentioned earlier with the commercials doing the deadlines that everyone's working off of, and all of a sudden your technology moved things around, like it incredibly sensitive to rug pulls.
Yep.
So Final Cut,
Yeah,
Final Cut Pro.
And then I jumped to Adobe Premiere, which I've been on for many years. So I was doing that, and that's been good. And so that's what I was working on for many years after Final Cut, when everybody kind of made that switch. I think Adobe obviously took I was not the only one. There was a huge migration of people from Final Cut, and they all went to Adobe for the most part. And then when I went out to LA to work on Night Stalker, that was Avid. So I had to kind of jump back into that workflow, which is that, I'm not a fan of Avid. This documentary that I'm doing right now on the Horde Festival is on Avid, and the producer and I are just pulling our hair out at just how archaic that machine is, or just that program is. It's terrible.
If you don't mind, just a little more detail of like what really grinds your gears about Avid.
It's I think it was made for kind of film editors, back when you would shoot on film and you would get your dailies back on film, and you have like film strips hanging in
Scissors, razor blades.
And you're you have all your scenes on little clips that are hanging into garbage cans with cloth on it. And so you're like pulling off your scenes from that and putting them on a steam deck. And so there was that kind of mentality. And so they kind of built the program around that, for those editors making that transition. And they just basically haven't changed it. They've just been, from my understanding, they've just been piling code on top of that, trying to fix it instead of just saying like, wait, stop, let's start from scratch and really look at what the industry is and how we should be able to change that. But there's certainly, it seems like West Coast especially, there's it's still a lot of Avid, but it's
the word legacy and technology, the old guys, legacy, and they're between a rock and a hard place too, because they got their installed base. And often, you get into big organizations, it's the senior manager of the big organizations who are sometimes out of touch with the people who do the work.
Yep.
Not uncommon, and then so they're kind of stuck, and they want to change things and they can't. So even if they wanted to, I have no idea. I don't know anybody there.
Yep. Yeah, which is same with, we hear all over these legacy events. They start in the right place. Like the whole reason they design around the old way they video edited. But now times change. Right. They don't keep up. And then they result to people aren't using our stuff anymore. Let's not change or fix anything. Let's put rules and locks in and everything to make them keep buying our gear. Because Avid has always been notorious for not loving to play with storage that's not Avid storage.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Premiere, are you do you like Premiere? It good feel.
I do. I'm about to make the switch to Resolve. I think.
Nice.
I think that's the future. Blackmagic Resolve has really. And I know the producer of the project that I'm on right now went to NAB, and he talked to those guys. And just said he was kind of blown away. And I know a few other people that are on it. And just, it's really, I think it's going to be the key, just in terms of project sharing, how they do everything. And, definitely seen that. Like that was, so when I was working on Night Stalker, that was COVID split that production for the most part, which was interesting because I was out there and just like, what am I doing? Like, I'm working on this huge show that is going to be a #1 hit on Netflix. I'm just like, I don't want to move to LA. My wife doesn't want to move to LA. Like, more importantly, I need to be out here to do this. And I was naively thinking that I could do it from anywhere. And if I was talented enough, people would, seek me out from wherever I was. But then, there was just no remote working at all. And then, it's funny, the IT guy, I was going to come back for 2 weeks and they were just experimenting with remote editing. And they had a guy that was working on a show in New York from LA. And he was just like, where are you going? And I was just like, North Carolina. And he was like, do you have internet out there? I was just like, yeah, man, I got right. I was just like, I got AT&T fiber, man. Like, I got a gig up and down. Like, I've got faster internet than you've got in this place.
Yeah. Yep.
I was like, so yeah, and so but it was funny. He was, just like, I was just a total thorn or rocking his boot, and then within a month, he's just like, wait a minute, like, okay, like, you're my guinea pig. You're the first out of the boat. Like, I got to figure out, because he's gonna have to do it with 60 other people. So it's interesting to see that evolution, and now everything is remote. Like I get offers for jobs all the time, and nobody expects me to be in LA. It's just assume that it's going to be remote. So taking it back to Black Magic has basically, incorporated their remote workflow into it. From everything I've heard, is just seamless. And people can be working. You could have somebody mixing the project and coloring the project in the timeline. The timeline's updating as everybody's working. You can work in the same timeline and not disrupt each other. All the they set it up where you can have media, local media. So the project exists on the cloud, but your media is local, because everybody was trying to do it before, where you're basically. And I think it was a lot of the post houses, or, they've got these huge post houses that have 45 editors working in them. Like, they've got all their infrastructure. And so their idea was just have everybody log into our machine so we can keep our infrastructure, which I think is, just not. It just doesn't work very well. You're remote controlling the machine. It freezes. You got to reboot the machine remotely. You can't do it remote. Like, you have to. It's just ridiculous. So I think it's just, again, just that kind of old way of thinking of like, let's just try to take what we have and make this work, instead of kind of reapproaching it, because you can't totally blame them. But I personally would rather not have anything to do with it.
So critical. That video editing, when I don't particularly do any of it myself, but I watch our people do it, and the ability to pull a slider along and or drop a clip and pull a slider along and all the things, having something spin and interrupt your concentration, because it blows your creativity, doesn't it? It's like
it's maddening. There were times where it would be you'd be working and it would. The internet would be slow, or there'd be, it would slow down during the day, because a lot of people, you could tell when LA started waking up, because I'm on, it would work okay in the morning. And then as LA starts waking up, it starts getting worse and worse. And, it's just like, you just do something that spins. And for even 4 seconds, you're just like, what was I doing? Like, it's just like, you totally lose your train of thought of like,
you snap out of flow state.
When you're in it, you just kind of do it, and you lose track of time, and all of a sudden you're just like, oh, I just built something really cool.
Nice.
As soon as you start getting that,
Let me make a little jump, and I'm going to go back to the people we've dealt with over the years who are doing independent editing, and I also think are internal around here. I go back a lot of years. The whole storage thing always been a problem when you're doing stuff on your own premises, and you go, okay, video takes a lot of space. And
it takes a lot of space and needs a lot of bandwidth.
And so what we'd see in years gone, we'd see a lot of people using a lot of, external media, external hard drives were king. Got a project, buy an external hard drive, plug it in with
Yep.
USB or whatever else, and good and workable.
Yeah, and then they expanded, so you'd get one, but then you wouldn't have much redundancy there, right?
Yeah, no redundancy. You're at risk if that hard drive gets
Right.
poached. You're in big trouble. And then,
Yep.
we've seen people, storage zoo, they call it. We had a local independent video producer, Ray J.
Right.
Yeah, he does, local video market, a lot of sports stuff and weddings and everything else. And he had the most beautiful system.
Oh, yeah,
I
he
thought
did.
it was elegant. He had this home-built shelf system with about 50 or 60 external hard drives, all little power cubes plugging into them with multiple power bars and cables hanging and little labels on them to say which one, so he could just sit there in front of his editing workstation. And
Well, let me add a little color on who Ray J was too, and I'm sure you've experienced people, creatives in your field like this as well. But he's been doing it for a while, and he still had his old analog gear and everything there. So I was over there helping him one day, and I was asking him about it, and I was showing him. I was like, so like around what year, couple of years, like decade were you using this stuff? And he looks at me and goes, man, I got no concept of time, man. And I was just like, all right, Ray, let's just keep going then. Yeah.
so Chris, like storage, external media, part of your life at all, or did you always have a beautiful storage server inside? That
No, I would definitely. I was notoriously had a messy box of crowns as a kid. So it was like
Yeah.
it was my. I did not have a good system. If I did it again, I probably would have gotten I don't know. I would have done it differently, but it's also the technology changes. So I'm on FireWire 400 drives, FireWire 800 drives, and then it's just like Thunderbolt and all the stuff. And you got the power adapters, and so yeah, it has definitely been a problem of just like having the drives available. At some point they start piling up, and then I might put those in a box and put those in storage, and then I fill up another box, and I'd take the old box and move it up to my attic, and it's always been a mess of then somebody, it happens so rarely you keep it, but then somebody's like, hey, that thing that you edited like 6 years ago, can you change something on it? And it's always like a sinking feeling in my stomach of just like, oh God, I got to go back into that box, and hopefully it's not dead, and I've got the power adapter, and just like, oh crap, my computer doesn't have FireWire 800 anymore. It's like all the problems of just adaptability and all the that. So it's definitely been a challenge for sure.
So you're talking about project access. Did you ever get a thought and you're looking for some B-roll and you want the perfect clip? You saw it a couple of years ago, and then you
Right, yeah.
and go find some B-roll for something, and then you got to look
Right,
through your
yeah.
storage zoo.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the more trivial ones. Yeah, I know it's there somewhere. So,
Yeah.
so with the new codenamed DV15, talk about this. The whole thing that we've been told is sort of a holy grail is to have that vast space and to be able to edit directly from it without it ever interrupting you with a little spinner going, so that you're get that workflow interruption, that big thing of your attention getting grabbed. So that's the whole thing, our folks got you set up with some combination of high-speed networking. I don't know how much of you had yourself, but high-speed network, and then this relatively vast storage array in there. How's that been?
It's been incredible. I love it. So it's also been a thing with I've got 2 rooms in this space, and I'm editing video on one side. I also record bands on the other side, and there's got a partner that does records bands as well. So it's just always been, and a lot of times I'll score something on my side because he'll be over there, and so I've got Pro Tools on my side, and I'll have something, but just it's always been such a pain to move projects from one side to the other, because my side's set up more for video. It's a bigger room. It's made for clients to sit around. That room is a little bit smaller, but it's, meticulously designed for accurate sound. And so, I haven't been able to move back and forth freely, which has been just a huge pain. And so now both sides are networked. And it's been great just to be able to move back and forth. I can, create something on my side, open it back up on the other side in the studio, and just seamlessly move back and forth. And, I've had a single problem with speed. We'll be recording, 20 tracks of audio with a band, and I'll be editing in the other room. And,
Nice.
Editing 4K video, and just haven't had a hiccup. So it's been awesome.
Yeah. And you have a lot of headroom. You can add
Yeah.
It's another good question people ask, how many people kind of put on it. We don't have a great answer because it's a lot.
It's a lot,
is what it is. It's
Right.
a surprisingly large amount that you can put on there.
Yeah, and the other thing too, that all that peace of mind, you're all working and everything, and we didn't really kind of touched on that, is and the safety feeling of knowing that it's being recorded on array with redundancy parity. So you're just like, well, if something should fail, I can fix it and bring it all back.
Yeah.
So that peace of mind is always nice.
Yeah, which you probably don't think about a lot. Most people we just use our hard drive and say it'll never fail, right? And,
Right. Yep.
but
they fail.
And they're pretty darn good, but they do fail every now and then. Yeah, it could be a real nightmare. So what do you use for content management, any media asset management? Like, how do you file? Are you just using the file system on the server?
I'm just using the file system. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just kind of organize by clients and the project. Which side of the room. And
do you see any space in your life for media asset management of any sort, or is it just you're good? No.
I think I'm just kind of good. I don't know that much about it. I'm cool with folders and folders.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me, and it's
a management system on its own. It's
a management
designed for its general tool. Because one of the things we're just again look ahead. There's open source media asset management tools. Just filing system, a reference. Something like I want to find B-roll with a red sports car in it or something, and be able to find just give you a bunch, just that sort of thing to make your whole library accessible to you.
Well, and that's wonderful too, which kind of the local stuff with these. Everyone loves to yell about AI and machine learning, and it's not going to solve all our needs, but it can find all that information for you very nicely. Absolutely. A lot of those tools exist, but they live up in the cloud, and to use them, you have to feed those companies your data, and then it kind of turns into what really is the product here, right? Yep. So another thing of having things local and pieces of software, like we're talking about Media Asset Manager, because where Doug's getting at is we want to start making more and more tools to kind of help people and give them their options besides going to the big cities, going to the clouds, doing it locally in your own shop, and having that same kind of power. So,
you go to the cloud. Number one, you got to upload stuff up there, which means you're going sitting there on. Let me get a cup of coffee, and then on top of it, somebody else has your
the tin hat man in me is just like
somebody has your files up there, and you got to trust them, which they're great most of the time. Put that most of the time in there.
That's how they're feeding, training all the models.
So let's get.
Well, and I think that's the future of it, is that people should have storage locally.
Yes,
it's we're at the point where hard drives are cheap enough. That shouldn't be the factor of you're working on these giant projects, and it's like, how much is it 10 terabyte drive, or if you have a server. More people had servers like that I've been testing for you guys. Like, it's huge, because that's one of the things that Resolve does, is like you upload to the project. Someone who is centrally located uploads it, and it immediately downloads to everybody's system. So it's made for that, because it's everybody's working remote. And then you don't have a problem with the new footage came in, we've got to send it to everybody. Everybody's got to take it and put it in the exact same folder. So when you're sharing projects, it's not looking for it in the wrong place, or it's like, oh, you're missing this sound effect, just is like, oh, I forgot to upload it to that folder. Whereas you get these programs like that, and I think that you're going to see more and more of it, where it's like storage, your local storage space is going to become so much more important, because they're figuring out how to make it where it exists on the cloud, but then it's dispersed down to everyone automatically. So you're not running into that bottleneck of the internet connection.
Yeah, see, you're describing my perfect world there too, of the like, everyone's so black and white. It's either, oh, cloud exists, let's put everything in the cloud now, or before. But it's like a good hybrid system of both worlds make a lot of sense. Yep. And then you can have the control where you want to put it, because there's a lot of things the cloud and cloud services does where they just tricked people, for lack of better words, of like, convenience is better than all. Just give everything to us and we'll handle it for you. And it's very easy to, I don't know.
And it's the internet, so it's like lightning, but the internet's not like lightning when you move video files, especially 4K or above. Right? It's like there's another, that whole thing. It's on the cloud. Good, we'll just download it from the cloud. Well, how many cups of coffee can I drink before my bunch of 4K clips come down, right? And it's like that whole thing of, the other part of your workflow. We talked about that workflow internally. So having that vast storage vault with your high-speed networking, good. Everywhere inside your house, you have your data at your fingertips, instant editing, and as fast as it comes for your devices. But the other part is, when you're working on a project with other people, it's got to move in and out on cloud. And so you did a little bit of playing around, I believe, with Nextcloud. On our thing, which is your own cloud hosted in your premises on your machine. And how's the experience with that? What all do you do, and how's the experience?
It's great. Sending cuts to everyone, and some of that stuff is pretty sensitive. So don't necessarily trust Google Drive, which is what I've been using before. So it's definitely nice, to have that peace of mind, knowing that this thing's not going to leak. It's just like all of a sudden, working on the secret celebrity tequila, and then all of a sudden it's just like, it's online. It's just like crap. Like I sent it to the PR company, and whatever somehow got out. So it's just knowing that that's not going to happen is really invaluable.
Cut the middleman out, right? It's like cloud is hosted on your server inside. You set up an account for somebody else. Good. It goes directly between their machine, encrypted, top level encryption, and all of a sudden it's in your house. It's from their machine onto your machine. It's the way to do it.
And a paper trail of who was in, who was out.
An audit trail of anybody that came in. Yeah.
At least if it gets out, you can know who to blame.
That guy.
Yeah. No, it's good. And those couple of tools, good infrastructure for it's a whole new experience. That's what people tell us. And what would you? So your experience has been very good so far. Where's the little? We just had this Creator Summit, YouTube Creator Summit here, and they talk about paper cuts, the little things that irritate you just a little bit.
They're manageable, but you get enough of them, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah. What sort of paper cuts did you get using this system and having your own?
Yeah. The noise was a little bit of an issue, but again, I'm like pretty sensitive to that.
Yeah,
I've even got like a little PCIe hard drive enclosure from OWC, and it's loud. Like it's got one tiny fan in it. It kind of drives me crazy. And I'm like, I've talked to Noctua. Is that the name of the fan company? They don't make a fan that size. I'm just like, why did they put this little tiny noisy fan in there? But it is a little noisy, but not because the fans are noisy. It's just, I think it's so many hard drives, and it's moving air. It's and necessary, which is good. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, you plug it in and it's just like, ooh, and you can feel, if you're on the downwind of it, you can get a nice little breeze. So it's definitely doing a lot of cooling. So I put it in another room, which is how I solved that problem, which has been totally fine. So, I mean, I would rather have it in another room probably anyway. Just because even the slightest amount of noise will kind of drive me crazy.
Yeah, that, and I imagine, especially on your audio recording side of the fence, you've got some pretty sensitive instruments there that could probably pick up. What did someone say? Hear the flap of a butterfly's wing.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, you definitely can't have it in the audio side.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. You know, even just a Mac, you can just hear just the whirring of that. If you can get away with it, depending on what mic you're using, if you want to kind of record in the control room, which some people like to do.
Okay.
It's
notoriously Bono. We're good.
Yeah,
I was about to say, notoriously Bono would sit in the control room. I think it was on Joshua Tree. You know, usually you like put on headphones and go in a different room and you sing. He just wanted a mic, and he would be in the control room with no headphones. And they would just play it through the speakers, and he would just like have a SM7 or SM58, pretty much like the mic you see at clubs, and that's how he recorded his vocals, just because he wanted. So it's point is, you can do it. You can do it. It's just certainly possible. But a lot of times you just want to be in the most quiet place possible.
So it's an interesting area. That noise thing. The industry's audio and film for us. We've heard that loud and clear. It's one of the reasons we have our partnership with Noctua. Not heard them loud and clear. Noctua, our partnership with them. Austrian-based company who is the best engineering and fans and the quietest fans in the industry.
Yep.
So we've been working with them. And other thing on workstations now, we have our little thin client workstation, which I have one in my office because I'm also not a lover of fan noise. And I have a totally passively cool computer, no moving parts inside it. And the case is a heat sink. So we're working on these dead quiet things. On the storage side of it, as you said, you just have a lot of horsepower in hard drive there. That's a lot of horsepower.
Yeah,
it's going to rumble a little bit, and there's not much. We can vibration isolate it better, but fundamentally, it's there. We can do better, and vibration isolating that stuff further, because it's all designed vibration. Actually, they're designed to couple into the case in the thing, because that, if they're floating, their own vibration can bother them. It'll give you data errors.
And it throws the head off the track.
Throws the head. They get these tracks. There's 3,000 tracks per the width of a human hair.
It's crazy.
It's crazy how small they are. So the slightest movement in those.
It's like a record player. If you just kept knocking a record player when it's going, and it's
except at such a micro scale, it's crazy. So that whole thing, these are designed to couple into the case, and we should think about how to take that whole unit and vibration, isolate that. It's something. It's dear to our hearts because we hear it from people. Fan, knock the noise down. Unfortunately, a big, strong, fast machine like that, it's got horsepower, turns into heat. It's got to come out. Got to have an exhaust pipe and a radiator in your car, right? The bigger the car is, the bigger they are. But Noctua, our partnership with them, has really helped that. But you're left at where you are. Yeah, it's where we are right now. So.
Yep. I mean, small price to pay.
Small price to pay. Well, what else, Chris? Anything else that's irritating? Any roadmaps? Anything? Any little gaps you're kind of lifting over? Or anything?
Yeah, I mean, there was a problem with Avid. We had discussed before. That's just Avid being jerks, like notorious jerks. Like it for some reason will not let us set it up on a server because I think they want you to use their proprietary servers. So they somehow inserted a little piece of code where you can even create the index to put it on the drive, and it will not let you create that series of folders. You I can't remember. It's like Avid media files, MXF, blah blah blah, and you go down, you create this one folder, and we would just see it disappear, and you're just like, I mean, what in the world? Like on the Finder level, Avid is controlling your machine, and we would go and turn all instances of Avid off, and it was still doing it. So
imagine if they put that effort to make life better for you.
Yeah.
Exactly. You talk about their lack of updating. Imagine if they turned that for good instead of evil.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, their title maker doesn't work. It hadn't worked for like 6 years. Like you make a title and it crashes the whole project. It's like you can't like make a title. Like you can't.
That's
come up with
pretty
a good
resource
title
intensive
maker.
task.
It boggles us as new kids in the block. And it's like we just have to look after our customers, respect that free will and their choice, and it's like, and business should be about just being the best choice for your customers and operating free will. That's free markets. When you got choices,
so that they can use their gear to enable their business and what they're doing, their vision, creativity, whatever you want to do, and not be at the whims of what Avid says you have to do it.
The client,
they're in control.
Free will. It's your work. It's your money you spent in the equipment, whether it's you or the people you're working for or whatever else. And that's our belief. It's your equipment. It should work for you. And when it does, the world's a little bit of a better place. So,
For sure.
Yeah. So cool. So anyway, we're so incredibly appreciative of you having taken the chance to do all the work to beta this, and we're thrilled this worked. Not surprised it worked out great because we're on both sides of the thing from where you are, and we just want to nail this like right in the middle with this product. This stuff will be. We don't have a firm date for it to come out. We'll release the code name. We'll put this together. Service package on how to get a service package that's priced right for somebody like yourself, who again, our understanding of what's important to yourself in that whole sector is it's just got to work. And I have a problem. I need somebody to call.
Yep.
Just make it work for me because I got work to do. I got creative thoughts. I got product I got to put out for my people and whatever else. So we got to get that together and get this optimized, and we can't wait to get out with it. So.
Yep. And I just want to comment too. I really appreciated your insight on your love of Resolve and DaVinci, because I've been hearing it from a lot of other people, but someone of your the industry where you're working and it's so clear now why people are liking it, because people were telling me before they loved it because they could use it on Linux and there was a free version. Okay, awesome. But I was really excited to hear about someone working in the industry with all the other proprietary tools, why they like it. And those comments you made about how they figured out that the world is changing and they're ready for it where the other ones aren't, like really exciting to hear that.
Yeah. I'm excited to jump in. Like I'm excited to be done with Avid forever. Like I would, just deal with this project. I mean, I had problems with, like they wouldn't even, they couldn't accept my payment on something. Like, and
listen,
I was just like, I'm trying to pay you, like, and it's not working. And
I can relate to that. We bought, I don't know, one other pieces of software to use for a year. They made us do it for a year because you can only buy things in that kind of increment now, because we wanted to, honestly, I think probably solve similar problems that you were seeing with other people. And so anyway, we solved it or whatever. We were stuck with it for the remaining few months, whatever. But same thing, getting an invoice from them, paying them. And just that alone, I'm like,
it's a legacy world, right? We can talk about them specifically, but it's the legacy world. There's a new world out there. It's more customer responsive. And it's just the evolution, right? And people get there, they go top of the heap, and then they forget all us little folk and the rest of the world. And so North Carolina, we're coming to Wilmington. You're in Charlotte.
That's excited. Welcome to North Carolina.
Thank you so much, and hoping we get together. I say my sailboat's going to be down there, and the water doesn't freeze in North Carolina here like it does in Nova Scotia. So I can't wait to come down there. And Wilmington's pretty cool down in North Carolina. It's a cool state. So I'm looking forward to getting there.
I can't wait to go.
Yep. It's a great state. You're gonna love it.
So don't forget, you got to tell me we're going to buy one of those bottles when I get down there.
Will do.
Okay. So anyway, thank you very much, Chris. Thanks, Brett.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And thanks everybody for watching.